Ryan adjusted the straps of his worn backpack and squinted at the horizon. The twin suns of the desert planet Vera blazed down, casting long, jagged shadows across the cracked sand. He had traveled hundreds of miles along this barren land, moving from one scattered settlement to another. Merchants, travelers, scavengers, he had seen them all, but today the desert felt different. It was quieter. Too quiet. His boots sank into the sand with each step, and the wind carried tiny particles of dust that stung his eyes. Ryan pulled a thin scarf over his face and kept walking. He didn't know why, but something tugged at the edges of his attention, a faint feeling that he was not alone. Hours passed and he finally reached the ruins of an old research outpost. The structure was mostly collapsed, metal beams twisted like broken bones, and the walls were pitted with years of neglect. It was the kind of place most travelers avoided. Stories whispered in settlements spoke of dangers lurking in abandoned facilities, wild creatures, malfunctioning robots, and sometimes worse. But Ryan was curious, and curiosity had always served him well. He stepped carefully through the entrance, scanning the shadows. The air inside smelled of rust and old machinery. His footsteps echoed in the hollow corridors, and for a moment he thought he was alone. Then he heard it. A whisper. Faint, almost like the wind, but distinct enough to make him pause. "Please, take me with you." Ryan froze. His hand instinctively went to the side of his belt where a small energy blade was sheathed. He scanned the room. Nothing. Then he heard it again, a soft, trembling voice. "Please, take me with you." He moved cautiously, following the sound toward a corner of the outpost where shadows clung thickly to the walls. There, crouched, behind a broken console, was a figure. She looked human at first glance, but her eyes were slightly larger than normal, with a subtle glow that seemed to shift in color. Her hair shimmered faintly in the dim light, and her skin had a soft, unusual tone. Ryan lowered his blade slowly. "Who are you?" he asked. She flinched, then whispered, "My name is Lyra. Please, I need your help." Ryan studied her carefully. She was small, fragile-looking, but there was something in the way she held herself, something alive and aware, that made him trust her instinctively. "Why?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. "Who are you running from?" Lyra's eyes darted toward the entrance, then back at him. They will kill me if they find me. I don't know why exactly, but I can't stay here. Please." Her voice cracked and she hugged her knees. Ryan felt a tug in his chest. He was a traveler, not a hero, not someone who sought danger. But he had never ignored a plea for help. He stepped closer, careful not to startle her. "All right," he said finally. "You can come with me, but you have to trust me. Can you do that?" Lyra nodded quickly, relief flooding her features. "Yes, thank you, please hurry." Ryan helped her to her feet and gestured for her to follow him out. As they stepped into the glaring sunlight, he realized the desert seemed more dangerous than before. The wind had picked up, carrying a distant mechanical hum. Drones? Scouts? He didn't know, but instinct told him they had to move fast. They walked in silence for a while. Ryan kept glancing back, alert for any sign of pursuit. Lyra stumbled a few times in the loose sand, and he offered his hand to steady her. She smiled faintly, a tiny glimmer of hope in her eyes. "Where are we going?" she asked softly. "Somewhere safe," Ryan replied. "I know a place, a settlement not far from here. Few people live there, and it's hidden from the usual patrols." Lyra nodded, but her expression remained tense. "I've never seen a human travel like this," she said, curiosity breaking through her fear. "You survive alone in this desert?" Ryan chuckled quietly. "It's not easy, but I've learned to adapt. The desert teaches you patience, observation, and caution." He glanced at her. "You must have your own reasons to survive. What about you? Where are you from?" Lyra hesitated, then whispered, "From a place far beyond this system, a place I cannot return to. Not yet. I was studying, learning, trying to understand your kind, when they came for me." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "Studying humans?" She nodded. Yes. I was observing, recording, hoping to learn. I didn't mean any harm, but they thought I could change something, and now—" Her voice trailed off, and she shivered in the heat. Ryan felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He was just passing by, just another traveler in a vast, uncaring galaxy. But now this small, frightened being depended on him, and he could not turn away. Hours passed. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in fiery reds and purples. They moved cautiously, avoiding deep sand pits and jagged rock formations. Ryan taught Lyra how to step carefully, how to read the shifting dunes, and she followed his instructions with surprising ease. Her attention to detail reminded him of someone much older, wiser than her appearance suggested. As night fell, the temperature dropped sharply. The desert that had burned them with light and heat now chilled their bones. Ryan found a small cave tucked into the side of a cliff and motioned for Lyra to enter first. She hesitated but stepped inside. Inside the cave, Ryan set up a small portable heater and a thin mat for them to rest on. He produced a water flask and offered it to her. Lyra drank quickly, her hands shaking slightly, then looked at him with gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered again. "For saving me." Ryan shook his head. "I'm not a hero. I couldn't leave you there. Something didn't feel right. You weren't safe." Lyra studied him, her glowing eyes reflecting the faint light of the heater. You trust me so easily." "Why?" Ryan smiled faintly, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Because sometimes the right thing to do is not complicated. You needed help, I could give it." There was a long silence, broken only by the faint hum of the heater and the occasional wind howling outside. Lyra finally spoke again. "Do you think they will find us?" Ryan didn't answer immediately. He studied the entrance of the cave, the shadows shifting as the wind blew sand against the rocks. "I don't know," he admitted, "but we will be ready if they do, and we will leave at first light. We have to keep moving. Staying still, staying here too long, is dangerous." Lyra nodded, her face serious. "I can help. I have abilities. I can sense energy, manipulate small fields. It's not much, but it can keep us safe." Ryan's eyes widened slightly. "Abilities?" he asked, his curiosity mixed with caution. "Show me." She closed her eyes and held her hands above a small rock. The rock lifted slowly, then hovered mid-air. A small, controlled pulse of energy surrounded it, and then she lowered it gently. Ryan whistled softly. That's impressive. That could be very useful." Lyra smiled faintly, relieved that he didn't recoil in fear. "I will do whatever I can to keep us safe," she said. Ryan nodded, feeling a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. He had been a traveler, a loner, someone who survived by avoiding entanglement. But now he had a mission. Protect Lyra, keep her safe. And perhaps in doing so, he might find a new direction for his life. The night grew colder. The stars above the desert blazed with unfamiliar constellations, and the twin moons of Vera cast a silver light over the dunes. Ryan and Lyra sat quietly, side by side, each lost in thought. Ryan wondered about the forces pursuing her, about what dangers lay ahead. Lyra wondered if she could truly trust a human, a stranger with her life, and both of them wondered if the desert, vast and merciless, might test them in ways they could not yet imagine. As the first hint of dawn touched the horizon, Ryan finally said, "We leave soon. Stick close to me. And whatever happens, we survive. Together." Lyra nodded, her eyes shining with quiet determination. For the first time since her flight began, she felt a small spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this human, this stranger she had met in a ruined outpost could help her escape the danger chasing her across the stars. And maybe, just maybe, together, they could face the desert, the unknown, and the galaxy itself, and survive. The first light of dawn spilled across the desert, painting the dunes in shades of gold and orange. Ryan rose from the small cave where he and Lyra had spent the night. The cold had bitten through their thin clothing, but both were awake and alert. Lyra had already started to gather small supplies from the cave: dried rations, a water container, and a small device that hummed faintly in her hands. Ryan watched her silently, impressed by how quickly she adapted to survival. She was still young, he thought, but her determination made her seem older. She noticed him watching and offered a small, shy smile. "We need to move," he said. "The sooner we put distance between us and whoever is chasing you, the better." Lyra nodded. "I can help," she said softly. "I can sense energy around us. If there are machines or patrols, I will know." Ryan's eyebrow lifted. "You mean you can detect them before we see them?" She nodded. "Yes, but it drains me if I stay focused too long." He considered this. It could be useful. Very useful. But he would have to watch over her as much as he watched over himself. "Then we take turns. You alert me when danger comes. I handle the rest." They left the cave and stepped onto the dunes. The desert stretched endlessly, a sea of gold beneath the rising sun. Every step was careful, every movement deliberate. Ryan knew the dangers of the desert: shifting sands that could swallow a person, sudden storms that could blind a traveler, and creatures that hunted silently. But now, with Lyra by his side, he felt a new kind of purpose. Hours passed in tense silence. Lyra focused, occasionally stopping to gesture subtly to warn him. Ryan began to understand her signals: small hand movements, slight changes in her posture, the way her eyes narrowed. Together they moved through the desert almost like a single unit, aware of everything around them. "Do you always travel alone?" Lyra asked after a while, breaking the silence. Ryan shrugged. "Mostly. It's safer that way. Trust is hard to give out here. But I suppose I was never expecting to meet someone like you." Lyra tilted her head, curious. "Someone like me?" He smiled faintly. "Not from this world. Not someone running for their life with abilities that could scare others. You are unusual." Lyra looked down at her hands. "I never wanted to be different," she admitted softly. "I only wanted to learn. I never thought it would put me in danger." Ryan nodded. "I understand that. Sometimes being different makes life harder. But it also gives you strength. You can use what you have to survive, and to fight if you need to." Her eyes lifted to meet his. "You really think I can survive?" "I know you can," Ryan replied. "You already are." As the sun climbed higher, the desert heat grew intense. They stopped at a small rocky outcrop to rest and drink water. Ryan scanned the horizon. For now, no signs of pursuit, but he could feel a tension in the air, as if the desert itself were watching them. "Do you know who is after you?" he asked carefully. Lyra shook her head. "I don't know much. They are powerful. They track people like me across planets. I was studying humans, trying to understand your world, and they came for me. They want something I carry, something I do not fully understand myself." Ryan frowned. "And you're sure you want to keep running instead of fighting?" She hesitated. "I can fight, but not yet. I need to survive long enough to reach safety. Then I can decide what to do." He nodded. Survival comes first. After a brief rest, they continued their journey. Ryan taught Lyra how to read the desert's subtle signs: the wind patterns that hinted at sandstorms, the tracks of desert creatures, and the hidden areas where water might be found. Lyra, in return, showed Ryan small tricks of her own: how to sense energy flows in the environment, how to detect mechanical devices hidden in the dunes, and even how to slightly alter the path of falling rocks or shifting sand to clear a safe way forward. It was exhausting work, but it strengthened the bond between them. Ryan began to feel protective of her, not just because of danger, but because she reminded him that life, even in a harsh world, was worth defending. Midday brought a sudden challenge. The ground beneath them began to vibrate faintly, almost imperceptibly. At first, Lyra stiffened. "They're close," she said, her voice low. "Machines, drones, Ryan's hand went to his belt, and he pulled out a small, portable energy weapon. It hummed quietly. Ready. Show me where. Lyra raised her hand slightly, eyes closed. She focused, and a faint ripple in the air ahead indicated movement. Small, spider-like drones emerged from behind a sand dune, their metallic legs clicking as they moved toward them. Ryan moved instinctively, taking cover behind a rock. Stay close, he whispered. We can't outrun them on open ground. Lyra nodded, fear mixed with determination. She extended her hands, and a soft, shimmering field of energy expanded around the drones. The small devices slowed, their movements jerky as if caught in an invisible net. Ryan smiled faintly. Her abilities were strong and useful. Now, he shouted. Together they sprinted toward a narrow canyon that Ryan had spotted earlier. The drones tried to follow, but Lyra's energy field kept them at bay. By the time they reached the safety of the canyon, the machines had slowed too much to continue. They paused to catch their breath. Lyra leaned against a rock, exhausted. That took more energy than I expected, she said, panting. Ryan wiped sweat from his forehead. You did well. That bought us time. But we can't stay here long. They'll find another way. Lyra nodded. I understand. The canyon offered temporary safety. Its walls blocked the desert wind and concealed them from aerial view. Ryan scanned for signs of further pursuit, then found a small ledge where they could rest. He pulled out, more water and rations, sharing them with Lyra. Why are you helping me? She asked after a while, her voice quiet. Ryan shrugged. Because someone needed help. And maybe because I'm tired of just passing by, watching the world. Maybe I want to make a difference. Lyra smiled faintly. You already are. As night fell, the desert transformed again. The twin moons of Vera rose, casting pale light on the dunes. The air cooled rapidly, and the stars above sparkled in breathtaking clarity. Lyra and Ryan sat together on the ledge, keeping watch. We'll need to keep moving, Ryan said finally. The drones were scouts, more will follow. We can't stop for long periods. Lyra nodded. I can sense them coming. If we move carefully, we can avoid the main forces. They talked for hours, sharing stories of their pasts. Ryan told her about the settlements he had visited, the people he had met, and the dangers he had survived. Lyra shared glimpses of her home world, the research she had been doing, and the small joys she had found even in fear. By the time they rested, a bond had formed, a quiet understanding that they were no longer alone in the galaxy. Together, they could face the dangers ahead. Before sleep claimed them, Ryan glanced at Lyra. Tomorrow we push further. The desert is harsh, but it can't stop us if we stay alert. We survive. Together. Lyra nodded, her glowing eyes reflecting the moonlight. Together, she whispered. And for the first time since her flight began, hope felt real. The desert was vast and unforgiving, but Ryan and Lyra were learning something important. Survival was not just about skill or strength. It was about trust, courage, and the willingness to protect one another. And in that, they had an advantage no machine, no pursuer could take from them. As the wind whispered outside the canyon walls, carrying the faint hum of distant drones, both Ryan and Lyra knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges. But now they rested, ready to face whatever the desert and the galaxy might throw at them. The morning sun rose slowly over the desert, casting long shadows across the dunes. Ryan and Lyra had traveled through the canyon all night, following narrow, hidden paths that only someone familiar with the desert could navigate. Their bodies were tired, muscles aching from constant movement, but they were alive. And that mattered more than anything. Do you see it? Ryan asked, pointing toward a faint outline in the distance. Lyra squinted, her eyes adjusting to the heat of the day. Yes, a settlement, hidden behind the rocks. Ryan nodded. Good. It's not large, but it should be safe. Few people, know about it, and even fewer outsiders are welcome. We'll have to be careful. As they approached, the settlement revealed itself as a network of buildings carved into the rock. Solar panels glittered in the sunlight. Wind turbines turned slowly and faint smoke rose from chimneys. It was a city built in secrecy, designed to hide from those who sought control. Ryan led Lyra through a narrow, twisting path between the rocks. The walls were high, casting deep shadows that made it difficult to see inside. They arrived at a small archway guarded by a lone sentinel. The guard, a human woman with sharp eyes and a confident stance, raised her hand in caution. "Stop," she called. "State your names and business." Ryan stepped forward, keeping his hands visible. "I am Ryan, a traveler. This is Lyra. We seek shelter and protection." The guard's eyes flicked to Lyra. There was recognition, quick, almost imperceptible, but enough to make Ryan tense. "You are under observation," she said finally. "Follow me." They were led into the heart of the settlement. Unlike the desert outside, the city was alive with activity. Merchants traded supplies, engineers worked on small machines, and children ran along the stone pathways. It was a place of life and warmth, yet shadows lingered everywhere. Ryan guided Lyra to a quiet corner. "We need to be careful," he whispered. "Someone here might recognize you. Someone might report you." Lyra nodded, her hands trembling slightly. I will stay quiet. I just want to survive." The guard returned after speaking with someone in a tall tower at the center of the city. "You may stay for a short time," she said, "but be warned. Outsiders are not always welcome, and curiosity can be dangerous." Ryan nodded respectfully. "Understood. We'll keep to ourselves." For the first time in days, Lyra allowed herself to rest. She drank water, ate a small meal, and watched the city from a ledge. It was a strange mixture, peaceful yet tense, alive yet cautious. It reminded her of her homeworld, where knowledge and power had to be hidden carefully. "Why? Do they hide here?" she asked softly. Ryan shrugged. "The galaxy is not always kind. People fight for power, for control. Those who cannot or will not fight are forced into shadows. This city, it survives because it remains unseen." Lyra nodded, understanding. "It feels safe, but I know it is not completely safe." Ryan smiled faintly. "You're right, and that is why we must stay alert. The people who came for you, they will not stop. They track relentlessly." That night, Ryan and Lyra stayed in a small room provided by the city. Lyra could feel the tension in the air, and even though they were in a hidden settlement, she sensed danger. "I think someone knows I am here," she said quietly. Ryan frowned. "Do you mean inside the city?" "Yes," Lyra replied. "Not everyone, but someone noticed me. Maybe they will not act immediately, but we cannot stay long." Ryan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we prepare. We stay, we rest, but we get ready to leave at a moment's notice." The next morning, Ryan led Lyra through the quieter areas of the city. They observed the people, trying to understand who might be trustworthy. Merchants carried small devices, engineers moved cautiously, and a few shadows seemed to follow them silently. Suddenly, Lyra stiffened. "Someone is following us," she whispered. Ryan turned slightly, keeping his voice low. "Where?" Lyra pointed to a narrow alley. "A man. He knows I am here. He is cautious, but I can feel it. We must be careful." Ryan nodded. "Stay close. We watch. We do not engage unless necessary." They continued their walk, taking small, twisting paths to avoid being seen. Ryan noticed the man glancing at them from behind a stack of crates. Lyra's hands trembled slightly and she focused, sensing the energy around the stranger. "They are cautious," she said softly. "They do not approach yet, but they will not leave us alone for long." Ryan considered their options. They could confront him, risk a fight in the city streets, or they could lead him away quietly. He chose the latter. "Follow me," he whispered. They moved through the winding streets, slipping into a narrow tunnel that led to the outskirts of the city. The man followed, unaware of the trap being set. Ryan led Lyra to a small platform overlooking a canyon. "Here," Ryan said. "We wait." When the man approached the edge of the platform, Lyra extended her hands. A faint energy pulse shimmered in the air, creating a barrier that caused the man to stumble. He regained balance but hesitated, unsure of what he faced. Ryan stepped forward. "We do not want to fight," he said firmly, "but we will protect ourselves." The man glanced at Lyra, recognition flashing in his eyes. He knew she had abilities. He knew they could be dangerous. Slowly, he nodded, then retreated, disappearing into the city shadows. Lyra exhaled, relief washing over her. "That was close," she said. Ryan nodded. "Too close. They are watching more than ever. We cannot stay in one place too long. We need to move, soon." For the next few days, Ryan and Lyra stayed in the city, gathering supplies and observing the streets. They met a few people who were kind, offering food and advice, but always at a distance. Trust was scarce here, even for someone with good intentions. During this time, Lyra learned more about the city's hidden technology. Engineers had developed small devices to shield the settlement from sensors and drones. Ryan taught her how to move through the streets without being noticed, how to use shadows to their advantage, and how to blend into a crowd. At night, they practiced together. Lyra focused her energy, creating small barriers and pulses that could obscure them from machines. Ryan tested escape routes, finding paths through rooftops, tunnels, and narrow alleys. Together, they became a single team, moving with quiet efficiency and understanding. One evening, as they rested on a rooftop overlooking the city, Lyra spoke quietly. "I don't understand. Why are they chasing me so relentlessly? I have not done anything wrong." Ryan looked at her, his expression serious. "Sometimes it's not about right or wrong. Some people fear what they do not understand. Some fear power. And some simply want control. You represent something they cannot control. That is enough for them to chase you." Lyra nodded slowly. "I only wanted to learn, to observe humans, to understand your world. I never wanted to interfere." "I know," Ryan said softly, "and that is why we must survive. You cannot let them take you. Not yet. Not until you understand what you carry, and not until you can decide what to do with it." They stayed on the rooftop until the twin moons rose high above the city. Below, shadows moved through the streets, and the hum of distant machines reminded them that danger was never far away. But in that moment, Ryan and Lyra felt something stronger than fear. Trust. They trusted each other to survive, to protect one another, and to find a way through the city's hidden dangers. And that trust, Ryan knew, would carry them further than any skill or weapon could. As dawn approached again, Ryan whispered, "Tomorrow, we leave. The city is a safe place, but only for now. Our journey continues. We keep moving, and we keep surviving." Lyra nodded, her glowing eyes reflecting determination and hope. Together, they were ready to face whatever shadows the city, or the galaxy, might throw at them. The stars outside the ship's window looked cold and distant. Inside the Warden's Mercy, the air felt heavy. Elias Rourke sat in the captain's chair, his brow furrowed in deep thought. The ship had taken damage during their last escape. Fuel was low. Food supplies were running out. But worse than all of that, the Axiom Conquered was hunting them, and they were closing in. Behind him, Solari stood silently, her silver blue eyes glowing faintly in the dim lights. She had changed. She no longer looked like a prisoner or a lost soul. She had started wearing human clothes, simple ones Elias had given her, but she wore them with quiet pride. Her voice had grown stronger, her mind sharper. She asked questions now, she argued, she laughed, she learned, and she remembered. "There is one place left," Elias said, breaking the silence. "A friend, if she's still alive." "Who?" Solari asked. Dr. Mara Vex, he replied. Cyberneticist, tactician. We served together during the border conflicts. She left the war to study alien tech. If anyone can help us understand what you are and what the Axiom wants, it's her. Salary nodded. Then let's find her. The journey to the fractured moon was dangerous. The path took them through ancient debris fields, uncharted gravity wells, and pirate territory. Once, a drone swarm scanned their ship and chased them for 2 hours before giving up. Inside the ship, Elias coughed more often now. The wound he got from a laser shot during their last fight hadn't healed well. He hid the pain, but Sayalari noticed. Her eyes lingered on him when he wasn't looking. One evening, as he tried to repair a cooling vent, she sat beside him. You shouldn't push yourself, she said softly. I've been worse, Elias replied with a half smile. You saved me, she said. Let me save you now. Elias looked at her. Her voice was calm, but there was something deeper behind her words. A strength, a fire. She wasn't just learning what freedom meant, she was learning what it meant to protect it. Arrival at the fractured moon. The fractured moon was once a science outpost hidden behind the shattered remains of a planet destroyed in an ancient war. Now it was a graveyard of rock, metal, and forgotten knowledge. They docked near a broken satellite dish and stepped out carefully. The place was cold and silent, but someone was still alive there. A voice crackled through the static of the comms. Well, well. The great Elias Rourke returns from the dead. You owe me a drink, old man. Mara, Elias said with relief. We need your help. Dr. Mara Vex met them at the entrance of a half-working research dome. She was half human, half machine now. One of her arms was made of polished steel. Her left eye glowed red, and strange devices floated around her shoulders. When she saw Sayalari, she stopped. That's no ordinary alien, she whispered. No, Elias replied. She's a living key. The Axiom wants her because she can unlock the Orcs portals. Mara's eyes widened. The portals were myths, she said. Weapons of mass travel. Control them, and you control the galaxy. Sayalari stepped forward. I don't want power, she said. I just want to be free. Mara nodded slowly. Then we better move fast, because the Axiom will come, and when they do, they won't ask. Secrets and choices inside Mara's lab, Sayalari connected to an ancient Orcs interface. Symbols lit up around her. She didn't just read the language. She understood it like it was part of her. A map of the galaxy appeared, showing a network of sleeping gates, each one waiting for someone like her. She's not just a key, Mara whispered. She's a seed, a final creation of the Orcs meant to restart their empire. Or stop it. Sayalari looked at Elias. I never asked to be this, she said. I know, he replied. But maybe you can choose what it means now. That night, as the stars moved slowly outside the dome, Elias and Mara talked quietly. She's more human than some of us, Mara said, but the Axiom won't see that. They'll call her a weapon, a threat. And they'll use her if they get her, Elias added. Mara hesitated. There's a choice, Elias. If she links to the central portal here, she can destroy the network. Shut it down forever. And trap herself in the process, Elias said. They were both silent. The final confrontation the next day, the Axiom arrived. Massive ships blocked the sky. Dropships landed on the surface, and soldiers in black armor spread out. A voice echoed through speakers across the ruins. Return the asset, or we will take her by force. Elias stood at the entrance with a rifle in hand. She's not yours. Shots rang out. Explosions lit the moon's surface. Mara activated defense turrets, but they couldn't hold forever. Inside the lab, Sayalari stood before the portal's heart. Glowing lines wrapped around her arms. She was ready. Elias burst in, wounded and bleeding. You have to go, he said. Now. But Sayalari didn't move. If I run, they'll chase me forever. If I destroy the network, they lose their power. Others like me might be safe. It'll destroy you, Elias said. She looked at him with calm eyes. No, she said. It will set me free. Sacrifice and hope. As the Axiom forces broke into the lab, Sayalari raised her hand. A pulse of light filled the room. The portal answered her. One by one across the galaxy, Orcs gates shut down. Silent for thousands of years, they now whispered their last breath and closed forever. The Axiom ships stopped moving. Their weapons powered down. Confusion spread among their ranks, and Sayalari was gone. Only a soft light remained where she stood, like a memory. Elias collapsed, exhausted, as Mara rushed to help him. She did it, Mara said quietly. She chose, Elias whispered. Epilogue. The whisper that changed everything. Weeks later, the Axiom conquered signed a ceasefire. Without the portals, they lost their main advantage. News of Sailari's sacrifice spread across systems. Bioengineered species began to rise, inspired by her story. Some say she still lives, hidden somewhere in the stars, waiting for the right moment to return. Others say she became something more, a symbol of what happens when someone dares to say, I want to be free. Elias returned to the stars, carrying her memory with him. He never forgot her whisper. Please, take me with you, and he had. But more importantly, he had shown her that freedom wasn't something given, it was something claimed. The great gates of the ancient Orcs network were gone, closed forever by Sailari's sacrifice. The Axiom Concord, once feared across 1,000 worlds, had been weakened. Their power had depended on instant travel, fast invasions, and secret routes through space. Without the portals, they were just another alliance among many. But it was not just the Axiom that changed. All across the stars, people whispered the same name, Sayalari. Some called her a hero. Others called her a spark. Some said she had become part of the stars themselves, living in light and code, watching over the galaxy. Captain Elias Rourke didn't believe in legends. He believed in actions. He had seen what Sailari had done. He had watched her choose courage when running would have been easier. He knew what it had cost her. He now flew alone, well, almost alone. The voice from the past one quiet morning, weeks after the Axiom ceasefire, Elias was doing maintenance work in the Warden's Mercy. The ship had taken heavy damage during their escape, and even with parts from Mara Vex, repairs were slow. As he wiped his hands and closed a panel, the ship's console lit up, uncommanded. A soft, familiar voice came through the speakers. Hello, Elias. He froze. It was her voice. Sayalari, the voice was not live. It was a recorded message. Elias quickly sat at the console, playing it again. Her words echoed through the ship, calm and full of hope. If you're hearing this, I'm gone, or I've become something else. But I want you to know. I remembered everything you taught me. I remembered what it meant to choose, to fight, to hope. You didn't save me. You showed me how to save myself. And now, I want others to learn that too. Elias closed his eyes, resting his head against the cold metal of the console. He didn't cry. He hadn't cried in years. But his chest felt tight. She was gone but not forgotten. A new mission after the message, Elias found something strange in the ship's data core. A new file had been placed there, coded in Sayalari's unique patterns. Inside was a list of coordinates, dozens of them. Worlds, moons, space stations, all marked in red. Mara Vex later confirmed what he suspected. These are locations where the Axiom stored people like her, Mara said. Bioengineered beings, half-living, half-programmed, left behind, forgotten, or hidden. Elias didn't wait. He had a new mission. The journey of the free Elias traveled from system to system, following Sailari's map. What he found shocked him. On one world, he discovered a hidden facility beneath frozen ice, where 3 beings slept in stasis, 2 of them barely alive. He woke them gently. At first, they were afraid. But when he spoke Sailari's name, they listened. On another planet, he rescued a group of hybrid children being used as test subjects. They didn't know who they were or where they came from. Elias taught them what Scifi had learned. You are not machines. You are not tools. You are people, and you have the right to choose. The word freedom had no meaning to them at first, but over time it became everything. Elias didn't work alone. News of his mission spread. Others joined him. Smugglers, rebels, scientists, old friends, people who believed in what Scifi stood for. They called themselves the Chain Breakers. Echoes in the stars one night. While drifting near a gas giant, Elias looked out at the swirling clouds. He thought about Earth, how far he had come from it. He hadn't seen his homeworld in 10 years. Sometimes, he wondered what Scifi would have thought of Earth. The music, the oceans, the sunrise over mountaintops. She had never made it there. But her dream lived on in every life Elias saved, every person freed, every voice that refused to be silent. He remembered a line she once spoke. I was born to obey, but I learned to hope. Now others were learning the same. The Axiom's response, the Axiom conquered, didn't forget. Though weakened, they still had fleets. They still had spies. They called Elias a criminal, a thief of property, a danger to the balance of the stars. But they were afraid. Not of Elias. They were afraid of the idea he carried, that the weakest could rise, that the forgotten could speak, that control could be broken. They launched missions to stop him. Sent bounty hunters, blocked spaceports. Once they even tried to hack the Warden's mercy. But Scifi's protective code held strong. Every time they attacked, more people joined Elias's cause. They didn't fight with weapons. They fought with truth. One last broadcast months after Scifi's disappearance, Elias stood before a large communication array on the edge of neutral space. It had taken weeks to repair it. Today he was going to send a message, a broadcast to all systems, all species, all governments. He stood in front of a camera, old and cracked, and pressed the button. The screen flickered to life. This is Captain Elias Rourke, he began. I am not a politician. I am not a soldier anymore. I'm a man who was just passing by, until someone whispered, please take me with you. He paused. That someone was Scifi. You may have heard of her. Maybe you think she was a weapon, a tool, a threat. But I knew her. She was kind, curious, brave, and most of all, free. She gave up her chance to live a peaceful life so others could be free. She destroyed the very thing that gave her purpose because it was being used to hurt others. She proved that humanity is not just a species, it's a choice. He leaned closer to the camera. To anyone listening out there, if you feel like you don't matter, if you were told that you were born to obey, that your voice doesn't count, I want you to know this. You were never meant to bow. The key. Screen faded to black. The message spread like wildfire. The legacy lives on years past. Elias grew older. His hair grayed. His steps slowed, but he never stopped. The chain breakers grew larger, becoming a network of hidden sanctuaries, safe houses, and schools. Former captives became leaders, scientists, artists, explorers. One of them, a young girl, named Leary, once asked Elias, did you love her? He smiled gently and looked at the stars. I loved what she believed in, he said. And I think she believed in me too. Final moments in. His final years, Elias returned to the planet, where he first met Scifi. The ruined world under a red sun, the place where she whispered, please take me with you. He stood among the ruins, now peaceful and quiet. He whispered, thank you. Then he left, one last time, into the stars. Epilogue. The light that remains in the far corners of the galaxy, in places where hope was once forgotten, a symbol now shines. It is not a flag, not a weapon. It is a single glowing light shaped like an open hand. Below it, a message in many languages. You are not property. You are not alone. You are free to choose. Scifi, voice of the forgotten. And somewhere, perhaps only in dreams, a soft whisper can still be heard. Please take me with you, and humanity still answers, yes, always.